Are we on the air?
You're now in the mix with The Corner Radio, hosted by Kill, banging nothing but classic hip-hop, soul, and R&B.
What's good, what's good, what's good? Y'all tuned into The Corner Radio, hosted by your man, Kill, man. We got a packed house up here tonight. I got my hip-hop squad with me. Man, I got my man, Nick, from the ATL. What's going on, Nick?
How you doing, sir? It's good.
Man, everything good, man. Everything good. I got my man, Donnell, over here representing Duke out of Baltimore.
What's up, them Cameron Crazies in Baltimore, son?
Dog, you ain't even got, Baltimore don't even got a team, but we ain't even gonna go down that street right now. We ain't gonna go down that street, yo. And for everybody out there who prayerfully rocks with me, y'all know that, you know, my social media thing is Twitter. I'm on Twitter just to, you know, build with cats and just try to support what other people are doing. And every time I would post something, these Cats Delight podcasts would always retweet it or like it or whatever. And, you know, I just reached out and I was like, yo, I appreciate the support, man. Like, yo, let's connect. I love y'all podcast. Let's get y'all on. Let's get me on. Let's do something. Let's connect. So, you know, I'm glad to say I got Scott and John here from the Light Podcast. What's going on, fam?
What's up? What's up, Kill? Man, hey, listen, man, I definitely appreciate you reaching out to us, man, and doing this. You know what I mean? Like I told you on Twitter, you know, anytime I see something that I feel represents or that we feel represents, you know, true hip hop, we gravitate towards it, man. You know what I mean? So it was a no-brainer for us, man.
Right.
No-brainer for us. Thanks for having us.
No doubt, no doubt. What's good with you, John? Everything good?
Everything's good, man. And I'm just going to echo what Scott said, man, for the most part. I mean, like I always like to say, I slapped hip hop on the ass. So anytime I see some good hip hop out there, my ear is always out there. You know what I mean? You know, when Scott and I first hooked up years back, I told you, I was like, man, I used to carry Rapper's Delight under my arm to school, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm definitely, you know, we're part of instead of the Cameron Crazies, we're part of the hip-hop crazies. You know, we like to call ourselves the aficionados of hip-hop.
Already, man. You can come back anytime, man.
Yeah.
Nah, but that's what's up, man. And I really appreciate the support, and I wish more folk on Twitter was like that, you know, because I feel like everybody's out here grinding and, you know, screw all the bumping heads. Yo, hip-hop to me is like a fraternity, man. If you love music, let's get down, let's rock with each other, and let's make it happen. But let's get right into it. The other day I was thinking about how a lot of MCs really don't have huge discographies. You know, like the average rapper may have 5 albums out. You know, maybe we care about 2 or 3 of them. But for the most part, not too many MCs have these long lifespans in this game. And, you know, I did a podcast a minute ago just about, you know, fans, and I feel like hip hop artists are always like, oh, hip hop fans are fickle. Y'all not like rock and country, and, you know, Rolling Stones could come out with an album, they gonna go platinum. And, you know, so I did a show on, are hip hop fans really fickle, or do hip hop artists just need to make doper music? You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's always a trick from the artist that's like, oh, it's y'all. I've never heard an artist. And getting to ball for a quick second, I love how Draymond Green is just coming 100. He like, look, I'm messing up. I don't know what it is. I need to get my game right. I've never heard an artist do that. I've never heard a hip hop artist just be like, yo, you know what? That last album was whack. I wasn't focused. You know what I mean? The label made me want to do this. It's always the fans' fault for not supporting them. Like, we supposed to support, even if the album's whack, we should still go out and buy that. And I'm like, where they do that at? I'm sure if any of y'all went to a restaurant and the food was horrible, you ain't going back. Like, why would you keep giving people your money if they're not giving you a good product in return? And I'm just sick of the rappers always blaming us for it. And it's like, y'all got to take some ownership. So what we're going to do is go down a list of MCs and groups, kind of look at their discography and talk about, you know, how many albums y'all like from them, and then also when, if you stop checking for them. There may be some groups on here you never stop checking for. So we're going to dig into that. But something I also found out, I've been reading this book called I Would Die For You by Torre, and it's about Prince. And the psychologist was talking about the 3 ways that listeners bond with music. And he was saying, number 1 is the motor skills, is that the beat makes you dance. Like, music makes you get up and move. And that's one of the ways that we connect with music. Another was our emotional system. And he was saying how just chord progressions or certain chord changes can strike an emotion in you. in dealing with hip hop, I almost look at that like with samples. You know, like one of my favorite joints, KRS's A Friend. That sample just sounded so, it just had a feel to it that just made me personally at least fall in love with it. And then the third joint is the cognitive system, which is that the lyrics can make us think. So it's like these are the three ways that you connect with music. And what the author, what the psychologist was saying was that most people don't master even one of those. But Prince was one of the few people who mastered all three. His music made you dance, the music moved you, and the lyrics moved you too. So he was just saying how like, and when I read that, it just made me think of this show, and it was like, well, maybe that's it. Maybe these MCs aren't doing these things to keep us going throughout the years. But let me get straight into it. We're going to start off with KRS-One and BDP. We're going to mix all their stuff together. Chris has had out 18 albums. Yo, 18, my dude. I'm like, yo, I had no idea this dude was 18 albums deep. Now, I won't hold you. BDP, I love Criminal Minded by any means. Like, Chris was my dude. He was my favorite MC. This 86, 87. And then I'm not going to hold you. The Blueprint, Sex and Violence, and Edutainment, I didn't feel like the production was there. You know, and the beats is what always grabbed me. So he kind of dipped for me. But then when he came back with Boom Bap, of course, with Premier and Showbiz, then it was like, all right, he's back. He had the KRS album after that with Rappers Are in Danger and Wanna Be MCs and joints like that. And those, so for me, out of the 18 albums, I rock with 4. Like I said, with an MC like Chris with such a long lifespan, he dipped out on me twice. But let's start with you, Scott. How about BDP for their discography? How many of those 18 albums did you rock with? And when did Chris fall off for you? Or, and I don't want to say fall off, when did you stop checking for him, if you ever did?
All right. I'm going to try to do my best to answer that. I'm going to try it like this. I am, you know, and I say it all the time on our show, man. I'm like this incredible, annoying hip-hop purist. You know what I mean? I hold the artists that I'm checking for to this incredibly high standard, and it's unrealistic. It's not fair. You know what I mean? So that all being said, for me, KRS is the greatest lyricist of all time. It doesn't get better than him. You know what I mean? And one of the things that we talk about also on the show, if you're going to put together a top 10 list, you know, of any type of you know, hip hop or whatever like that, if KRS is not at the top, then your list is null and void. Null and void, man. Right off top, you know what I mean? So for me, I never stopped checking for Chris. You know, even though he might have had some albums, you know, after the ones that you mentioned that maybe I didn't really, you know, purchase, I didn't really get into. To me, lyrically, and that's one of the things that I check for. You know, as a youngin', my father, you know, he was, you know, deep into poetry, and he was always sitting me down. He was always dissecting these poets, and I remember, you know, like, damn, I'm not feeling this. You know, I want to go outside and play, but he was always trying to, you know, teach me something. So, like, subconsciously, I was always checking for lyrics first before I get into production and all of that, man. So for me, I don't necessarily think that KRS really fell off. That's just my opinion.
What's going on with you, man? What's up with the Blast Master KRS-One?
Yeah, I agree with my man. I don't think, like, lyrically, he never fell off. I just feel like his production choices kind of declined over the years. I think the last one I bought from him was I Got Next.
Okay.
That was what, like 97? But I mean, anytime he drops something, I'm gonna check it out because, you know, he top 5 for me.
Well, here's the thing. Let me pose this question because if an artist, because Scott, you said something too. You was like, you didn't buy it. So for them, that's what the artists are talking about. So we didn't buy it. So yeah. Nick, I feel you about to say if Chris drops something, you're gonna check for it. But are you going to purchase it to put money in that man's hands?
Yeah, I Got Next is the last the last Chris project I bought.
All right.
What about? I rock with like 6 of his albums. I like the Blueprint. Edutainment, not so much. Sex and Violence, not so much. But like Boom Bap, Self-Titled, and I Got Next. Yeah. We got like 6 to me.
I mean, yeah, that's not bad, but you know how I'm on my Jay-Z. You know, I work with teens, so I'm always on this grading system. You got 18 albums and you rock with 6. Like,
is Jay on the list?
Yeah, Jay, we gotta get
to Jay. I can't wait to get to that one.
I got you.
Oh yeah. Jay's definitely on the list.
Yeah. What do you think about KRS, D? So let me change. What is the last album you purchased of KRS-One?
All right, so the last album I purchased was probably Return of the Boom Bap.
Okay.
Now, I stopped rocking with him. I rocked with him with 2.5 albums, and that's Criminal Minded, Return to Boom Bap, and I Got Next. Half of that.
You ain't like by any means?
But yeah, that's the come on.
It was cool, but I think as far as lyricists, he's on the top. But like you said, some of his productions, just like it didn't move me.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think you know what? I'm one of them first album cats. You know what I'm saying? I'm be real. I'm one of them first album cats. If it don't move me like your first album did, then I might, I'm like, okay, let me see what you got here. Nah. Oh, okay, but nah, because Criminal Minded moved me, and I think it's unfair because it was around about that time when Criminal Minded came out. When I really started getting into hip hop. Like everybody got that. Where were you when you first heard Criminal Minded stories? Son, Criminal Minded just blew me away because I was just really, really getting into hip hop. I was in Hampton, I was in the Sweat Box, and I was like, yo, who is that dude? And I think I just like he said,
he was at Hampton.
Put cats on son.
Yo, Criminal Minded came out in 1986. How old are you?
I was in
I'm
Hampton.
about to say, because I think I'm the youngest. I'm only 36. So
Yo, your math is off, bro. Yo, you was not in.
Done.
Criminal Minded came out, bro.
Done.
Is he from Hampton? Is he from Hampton?
Damn, in 1986, you was in college?
I graduated, yeah.
In 1986,
in
96, 86.
No, son.
Hey, you know what?
I'm 47 years old, son.
So you ain't graduate college in 86, you graduated high school in 86.
I graduated high school, yeah.
Yeah, no, he was saying you were saying college.
I was in college, yeah. Basically.
I had no idea.
No.
Oh, bro. Yeah, man, you my OG, man. This need to be your show, man. My fault, man. Yo, this is now, man. What I'm doing up here? Nah, okay. So you stopped. So your last purchase of Chris was what?
Return to the Boom Bap.
Return to Boom Bap.
That was my last purchase.
All right, cool. And John, what about you?
See, but me, man, I'm one of those guys. I'm gonna ride with you till the wheels fall off.
Right.
So for me, Chris Styles, because it was KRS, and I was about to take a road trip, so I just grabbed it. You know what I mean? There was about 1 or 2 tracks on there that really had my head banging. But Chris, for me though, man, to me, Chris is bigger than hip hop. Chris to me is the entire culture. So whenever he moves, he moves the needle. I would say Jay-Z has that appeal as well. There are certain artists that whenever they move in the industry, they're going to move the needle. KRS has a new album coming out later this year. Or if it hasn't already come out, I'm not sure. He's supposed to be releasing the project in 2016. So with that being said, man, I will always check for the teacher because
now again,
without him,
why are you buying the teacher?
What was Chris Styles?
When did Chris Styles
come out?
2003.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. It was like 2003. I was in the mortgage industry, so I was working crazy hours. So I needed some ear jazz.
Right.
But I would strongly say, man, I would check for it first, and if it has more than 3 bangers on it, I'll go get the whole CD.
All right.
Yeah. But I will hit YouTube. I will have a listening party.
I feel you on that. I've been burned a lot of times by CDs, and I'm like, a lot of people owe me some money back. All right, so next we gonna go into G-Rap. Cool G-Rap, 7 albums. For me, I love Road to the Riches, Wanted Dead or Alive. I wasn't a big fan of Live and Let Die, the album he did with Sir Jinx when he went to the West Coast. It was cool. So for me, G-Rap, Wanted Dead or Alive was the last joint that I copped from G-Rap. Scott, what about you?
So, I'm not even gonna lie to you fellas, man. The last album I purchased was that Road to the Riches joint. I think for me, that's when I became a huge G-Rap fan. That just stood out to me, man. He was a lyrical gymnast, It was just unreal to me, man. But that was really the last one I purchased. Now coming from Jersey, and I'm sure you guys, know where I'm coming from with this. I mean, the mixtape scene hit hard, man. So like, as far as purchasing albums, that wasn't really something that as a youngin' that I did. I did purchase the hell out of some mixtapes though. You know what I mean? So G-Rap is all over them. But yeah, Road to the Riches for me was the last one I purchased. And I agree with you 100%. You know, when he went West Coast, I don't know, man. I just really stopped checking for him then. I mean, right or wrong, that's what I did. You know what I mean? But you know, his lyrical contribution to the game cannot be understated. Cannot be understated, man. So still a huge fan of G-Rap. You know, he still, he might, hit the scene. Like, for example, when he was on that Boom track with the Roots with him and Kane. I mean, he destroyed that, man. You know what I mean? He definitely destroyed that, man. But Road to the Riches was the last one I purchased, man. And for the same reasons that you.
I didn't even know that.
Now, you know that was Tariq. That was him. Yeah, he was like kind of paying homage, like kind of mimicking. Yeah,
you know what, man? Like, all this time I thought that was G-Rap.
He sounded just like him. He sounded just like him.
I never know the Roots did no G-Rap.
Tariq, he did Big Daddy Kane and G-Rap on that.
Wow. Bro, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I thought that was them. Yeah. All this time I thought that was them, man. Straight up.
All right. Yo, Nick, what about you with G-Rap?
Like I said, I'm the young buck. The first album I got into was 456.
Right.
I was in the 10th grade. That's when I found out about G-Rap. So I had to go back. Matter of fact, cause Nas my favorite MC, so that's the type of fan I am. When I hear my favorite MC's influences, and I go check them cats out. So when 456 came out, I went back. But I think I bought. He had one more after 456, like Roots of Evil or something like that.
Something like the Mob.
Like 98. It was alright. That's when I checked out. That's like when I tapped out.
I feel you.
But I actually like Live and Let Die, because that was like kind of like when Cube went to the East and worked with the Bomb Squad. G-Rap went West, worked with Sir Jinx. I think the Trap Masters did like 4 or 5.
I think they did like Ill Street Blues and did a couple of joints.
I actually kind of dug that one.
Yeah, see, I think
Cube had the Funkadelic sample on the track with Scarface and Cube. I was rocking with that.
Yeah, see, I think I was I like Cube coming east. I wasn't too keen with West Coast, with East Coast dudes going west at that time. But that's just my coastal bias in me right now. D, what about you and G-Rap?
I purchased Road to Riches. I love that. Like, G-Rap was killing that one. I love this dude. And I think I purchased Live and Let Die. I like Live and Let Die, but I didn't purchase any of the others. Like, I definitely wasn't purchasing. I don't know why. It was about XXX that I just was like, I'm not.
Right.
I was like, I don't know. Where is he going? I'm done.
Right. And what's up with you, John?
I can be honest, I have never bought one of his joints.
Okay.
I mean, not that I think he's trash or anything. It's just that I was never really checking for him. I mean, I wasn't the biggest Nas fan when Nas first came out, and like my man said, because he was one of the Nas's prodigies, kind of came up under him. I was never really checking for him. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he does have some tight stuff, but I was never running out and grabbing it. You know what I mean?
And then one of them cats is like he never advanced content-wise. He just kind of stayed the same.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the thing with that too is that makes me go back to what they were saying about just the cognitive. That after a while you kind of mature out of that. Like it was cool. Like we'll get to Mobb Deep, but I remember being in college in '92, and you shook ones come on, it just riled you up with that energy to just get you hyped for a party, get at the party. But at 42, married with wife and kids, like I don't need that energy no more. So it don't move me. 20 years ago. So it's kind of like, and it's funny because Havoc and Alchemist just came out with an album and the production is bonkers, but Havoc is still talking. That's tough talking. It's just like, damn, dog. Like, yo, you like 48 still on a park bench, bro. Like, yo, we gotta get you to Long Island, bro. Man, we gotta get you out the hood, man. All right, next joint we got Rakim Allah. He's got 7 albums out. Paid in Full, Let the Rhythm Hit Him, and Don't Sweat the Technique. No, I'm sorry. Paid in Full, Follow Lead, and Let the Rhythm Hit Him are the 3 that I rocked with. I wasn't really feeling Don't Sweat the Technique. Then he popped back up with the 18th Letter. I thought it was a solid album, but I won't hold you. Primo and Pete Rock, I really thought this album was gonna be bonkers. It wasn't to me. So for Rakim, 7 albums. 3 I rock with, you know, of course. And I think the great thing about hip hop is I think all of us loving this culture, if anybody drops something, I think we're checking for it. You know what I mean? Right. But I won't hold you. And why I love doing this is because I love seeing where everybody comes from. And me, it always starts with the beat. So it's like, if you tell me Rakim got a new album out, I get to it. You tell me Rakim got a new album out that like Knots or Alchemist did the whole thing, then I'm listening to. Now you got me. That's how you can jump straight to the front of the line. Which if your production lineup, I ain't even gonna hold you. If your production lineup is like that, you can jump straight to the front of the line for me. So Scott, what about you with Rakim?
All right, let me just keep it real simple. Coming from the East Coast, specifically from the New York City tri-state area, Rakim and Nas, they are our deities. You know what I mean? So I purchased everything that Rakim put out, everything, multiple times. You know, just on the strength that it's Rakim. You know, and just what you were saying about the production. You know, I think Rakim is one of those type of artists where, you know, his voice is just as important as the production track. So anything Rakim puts out, I'm checking for obvious reasons. I think he's the standard. You know what I mean? He's the lyrical standard. You know what I mean? I mean, the things that he speaks about. I mean, even if you go back to Paid in Full, yeah, you know what I mean? The things that he was talking about are so next level. It's next level now, 2016. Like if you go back and dissect some of the things he was talking about. I mean, if you wasn't part of the whole gods and nations of the earth situation, you didn't understand what he was saying. You know what I mean? But I mean, just from a spiritual standpoint, just from a cognitive standpoint, you know, it doesn't get better than that. Right. You know what I mean? So I purchased everything he said. I'm completely biased when it comes to the Rakim and Nas. So.
Right. Yeah. Yo, I'd be jealous of Overcast like y'all, man, because I can't do it. If the beat ain't dope, it's so hard for me.
But you gotta check for way more than that beat.
Keep in mind, like, but again, it's just like we all got different things that touch us. You know what I mean? Like
no doubt.
You know, like, and that's why I said I'm jealous, because I know there are a lot. I missed out on. Me and Nick was talking about this. I know I've missed out on a lot of dope hip hop throughout the years, just because I couldn't. The production wasn't top notch. You know what I mean? The production was all right. And now that I'm 42, I can look back and I'm going back, finding a lot of old gems that, you know, I don't know why I slept on them. I mean, keep in mind the 90s were wonderful, man. Music was dropping all the time. So, you know, it was hard to keep up. But yeah, man, I'm trying to open up my ears more, man. I learned it when Guru passed away, because with Gangstar, we'll get to them. You know, I'll save it for Gangstar. So Nick, what's up with you when I'm Rakim?
Yeah, I won't say I got everything, because what was it, 7 Seal or something like? I didn't cop that, but I did cop True Master. Wasn't that, you know, moved by it, but like the first 3 albums, that's probably one of the best 1, 2, 3 punches in the history of rap. Like to me, Rakim was that's like the logo. You know, you got the NBA logo. Rakim is the hip hop logo.
Yo, it's funny to say that, because Beasley used to always say it would be KRS. It would be like KRS. So, yeah, you know, it's one of them dudes that could be the logo straight up and down for hip hop.
Yeah, because like with Rakim, you got rap prior to and then rap after his arrival. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't do the Run DMC raps when he came through.
No.
He made it hard to eat.
Yeah, you're right. He made it hard to eat for a lot of MCs. A lot of people on the low pissed at Rakim. You know, Run like, yo, what the hell, man? I was good to go until you popped up.
Yeah, so me, True Master, where I tapped out. That was the last one.
All right, True Master D, what you got?
Yo. All right, so let me go back to something real quick. In '86, I took a trip. So I actually graduated from high school in '87. So in '86, I heard Criminal Minds was on a trip, and that's when I first visited Hampton. But I was in a sweatbox there. '87, when this came out, I was actually on campus.
Okay.
So this one was like, yo, I think I paid in full like 7 times, yo, because I kept either lending out the tape, couldn't find it, had to go get it again. Let the rhythm hit him, I purchased that. Don't Sweat Technique, I purchased that. 18th Letter, I purchased that like 3 times and I lost it. Yo, Rakim was my man. I loved him. I think I checked out after 18th Letter. I didn't get the Master or 7 Seal, but yo, I checked for that dude. Anytime I hear something, anybody said something Rakim, I'm like, what you got?
Right.
Yo, he's in my top 3.
Oh yeah.
I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I got
The album on Aftermath never came out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I would like to hear that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in the vaults throughout. It ain't just Prince. There's a lot of stuff out here. Cool music.
Oh, hell yeah.
You ain't never gonna hear, man. John, what you got on Rakim?
I got everything but the master. I skipped the master because I heard it first. Because my younger brother had it, and I was like, yeah, I'll save that. I'll go rebuy one of his other ones because, like D said, there were so many times, man, where loaned it out, tape snapped, whatever, Walkman ate it, something happened to it. I was in the Marine Corps, so I was moving around, unlike, kind of like D. I graduated high school in 87. I was in the Marine Corps. I was in Seattle in 88. I was in San Diego in 88. So you're talking about sweat boxes. I'm talking about military sweat boxes. Yeah. They're real. And when Rakim used to hit, my goodness, it was kind of like a tsunami would just hit the doggone floor, man. Now this was back when cats used to actually go to the club and do what you're supposed to do at the club.
Right.
Meet some chicks, do a little dancing. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about hip hop through the 80s and how Rakim took it, and he just basically said, we're going to take it from here, we're going to just leapfrog all this, we're going to bring it over here. Because like you said, Run DMC had to switch up their game after that. A whole lot of cats had to catch up because if you think about 87 and 88, look at how many albums were released during that 24-month span. Wow. So to be able to come out and to be the great white sharks of all great white sharks, you know what I mean? To be the king of all that at that time, because hip hop was so fluid, and he was. Yeah. So I mean, I rode that wave. Like I said, I didn't get the master, and I still listen for Rakim. Just like I still check for KRS. He was in Pittsburgh. KRS was in Pittsburgh. I think like 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks ago. A fan jumped up on stage and tried to do an MC Shan impersonation. Chris hit him with a quick 8 that was brand new, shut the whole place down. This is 8 weeks ago. Yeah. You can YouTube.
Don't want to battle him.
Yeah, no. Dude jumped up on stage doing something stupid, trying to act like MC Shan. Chris said I let him get off a little bit because I thought maybe he was trying to pay homage to Shan, but then when I saw that he was trying to come at me with Shan's lines, he said I had to just real quick let him know 8 bars, see you later. I'm in your city, everybody know you, and now they booing you. Go home with that. And I'm from Pittsburgh. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't know that lame though, but
that's dope. And like you said, man, Rakim, I mean, he was one of the cats who just changed the game. Every single that I heard when I first heard Eric B. as president.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? I was in Brooklyn. When I first heard My Melody, I'm like, yo, what? It was always like this what the fuck moment. Like, yo, what's going on? The first time I heard Microphone King, I mean, there was always those moments. All right, next we got Knicks Man, Jay-Z, 12 albums out. Ooh. I like 4. Jay dipped in and out with me. I love Reasonable Doubt. I came back with The Blueprint, the Black Album, and American Gangster. So I got 4 Jay albums, and I've checked out numerous times with Jay-Z. Hard Knock Life album I checked out. I didn't even hear the Dynasty album for it. I just heard that.
Gotta send you some stuff.
2-3 years ago. Came back with The Blueprint, Black Album, American Gangster. Scott, what you got on Jay-Z, man?
All right, John's gonna love this, man. On our show, I throw John softballs all the time, man, because I know he's gonna knock him out of the park, man. But with me, it's like I got this love-hate relationship with Jay, man. Like Reasonable Doubt, classic. I mean, I still listen to Reasonable Doubt from first track to the last. I mean, bro, it's a ridiculous album. You know what I mean? It's perfect. It's perfect. You know what I mean? So I kind of echo my relationship with Jay. Kind of echo what you were saying. You know what I mean? So I did Reasonable Doubt. I did, in my lifetime, I did, Blueprint, and then I kind of just stepped back a little bit. He came with the Black Album, and then he dropped that concert at the Garden.
Right.
I mean, for me, that was, bro. I still watch that to this day. To this day, man. That was man. When he did that public service announcement, on that damn Black Album concert, bro. I mean, I had tears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I went cold with Jay after that. You know what I mean? And then I think I wasn't really, you know what I mean? Like, Watch the Throne came out, and then I was like, yeah. So for me, I think the last Jay album I bought, and I know it's Jay and Kanye together, but for me, the last Jay album I bought was Watch the Throne, man. And for the very same reasons you said, he kind of just dropped in and out with me. Like, you know, he had some pop tracks I think that were too poppy for me. You know what I mean? He kind of lost his, you know, his street vibe a little something, man. But you know, Jay is still one of them dudes, man. He's still one of them dudes for me. But Watch the Throne, that was the last one I purchased. Yeah.
All right, that's the last joint you purchased. And my bad. One of the things I want to try and go back around to when we do this at the end with Jay is just what makes you think that they fell off. You know, I mean, or why you stopped checking for him. Like we said with G-Rap, it's kind of like the lyrical content never really grew.
Yeah.
So as we matured, you know, it's kind of like you know, it's almost like with Iverson. When Iverson came out in '96, you know, it was like this dude was talking to me. This was me. You know, but then about another 10 years later, and he's like not showing up for events. Now I'm a parent, and I'm like, yo, man, if I pay, I started. It's almost like the Cosby Show. As a kid, I watched the Cosby Show, looking at it through the eyes of Theo. Now when I watch the Cosby Show, I'm looking at it through the eyes of an adult. You know, so I think that's what it was like with Jay. With me, he just seemed to be. He wanted to be bigger than hip hop. I think he wanted to, you know, be bigger, and you can't be bigger than hip hop. In D&D with Primo and Ski, you got to get with, you know, make those moves. But Nick, you asked about him. What you got on Jay, man?
Like, I own all the Jay albums except for the joints with R. Kelly. None of those. The crap he did with Linkin Park. Everything else I got. I rock with, I'll say 5. You got like 2 different Jays. You got, like y'all said, it's a love-hate relationship because you know what he can do, and then you know what he gives you because he's a businessman. Right?
Boom.
So you got like the lyrical Jay, which is like Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1. Volume 3 to me is Jay is real lyrical. What messed that album up was New York was in that synthy Swiss Beats phase.
Right.
Which I wasn't a fan of.
Right.
And you got, you know, Crossover Jay, which is like Volume 2, and the Dynasty was kind of like that. But yeah, I mean, I got all of his albums. I rock with about 5 of them, but it's just he just not gonna give you what he's capable of giving because he wants to sell too. So he tries to, you know, get the least common denominator.
Right. All right, D, what you got on Jay?
I got, and we're gonna go back to how I feel about your first album. I got Reasonable Doubt, and then I just felt like it just started. It started, his whole rhyme style started switching from Reasonable Doubt. It just seemed like he wasn't hungry no more. I mean, and like Lifetime was good, Hard Knock Life was good. I mean, I fell in love with the Black Album because I thought he kind of went back to how he was rhyming in Reasonable Doubt, but then.
What about the Blueprint? Did you rock with the Blueprint?
It was cool.
All right.
I rock with the Blueprint. It was cool, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't Black Album to me. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't Reasonable Doubt to me. I think the last one I brought was, I actually brought Kingdom Come. I actually bought that. Kingdom Come.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
But because I brought that off of expectation. That's the bad part. I was like, this is gonna be good, and it wasn't. I was like, yo, I'm upset.
American Gangster was good though.
Yeah, American Gangster was dope, but the funny thing with American Gangster
I'm sorry. Yes, American Gangster was dope. Now that I think I got that from you, Kill. I don't know if I purchased that.
All right. Now I know with American Gangster it was funny because Cass was like, yeah, Jay coming out with another album. I'm like, yo, why? Just stop. Like, leave it alone. But then when I heard that he was doing it based off of the Denzel movie, and he was going to be talking about selling drugs, I'm like, okay, now you sparked my interest because to me that's Jay's lane. Jay can make club songs, but to me, Jay is best at talking about the streets. He is talking about the streets.
That's where you got him.
Yeah, that's his lane. He can do other things, which is cool, but that's the lane. So I mean, even, you know, we prayerfully will get y'all back on another show. We're gonna be doing I want to do a Jay show just about some of our favorite verses, but. You know, that American Dream and that third verse, we used to talking about hustle up in the projects and go to the Big Coke's process. I mean, it's like, yo, You know, gotta convince him you don't speak no English. Like, I'm just like, yo, this is the Jay that won. And then it's like, you know, you hear Death of Auto-Tune and you like he back, and then you get by the album, it's like, nah, he not. You know, it's like this constant, like, it's almost like, yo, I'm gonna get a number. No, I'm not. It's like you're constantly disappointed, you know. But John, what you got on Jay?
This is gonna sound crazy, but I probably copped each one of his releases at least 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
Because I keep it in the car, I keep it in the house. I got a 6 CD changer. Yeah, I still got CDs in my car. All right, but I got a 6 CD changer in my car right now.
Oh yeah.
Listen. Not only is it all, I got Jay mixtapes. I got, and what y'all. I mean, I'm trying to, because to me, and D said it. I think I like the fact that he can take that drug persona and he can move it in many different lanes. Because if you think about how he's hustled. And he's hustled in every lane of his life. And his music sometimes misses people because they can't understand how he's hustling in the current lane that he's in. So when he's talking about hustling with Warren Buffett, and he's talking about mixing notes and different types of currency, and it goes over some people's heads. Whereas to me, because I deal in things of that nature, I'm all in. Because to me, the best part about hip hop to me, and I'm a little older than D. I'll be 48 this year, so I guess I'm the flag bearer.
Double OG.
You know what I mean? So with that being said, man, what I see with Jay, man, is the fact that whatever you do in life, you can hustle the way that he's rhyming about it. Whether it's school, whether it's whatever you're doing, if you apply how he's telling you to apply it, you're going to be successful. To me, his rhymes is like water, and the scientific form of water is that it takes the shape of its container. So you can transport his lines in any phase of your life. And when I look back on it, like when I listened to him when he first came out with Reasonable Doubt, and being the hip hop cat that I was at the time that he came out with that, the first thing I said was, this dude right here is going to take it to an whole nother level. It's the first thing I said, because his entendres, and that's where it's like right now, if you figure out, like, nobody was talking, Jay moves the needle. Nobody was talking about Basquiat until Jay did it. Right. Nobody was talking about Breitling watches until Jay did it. No, if you think about, nobody who wanted to own a basketball team before Jay did it. Come on, man. I mean, think about it.
I feel what you're saying, and I think the other thing too is with Jay, because I used to always say he was like the Wiz when he liked the colors green. You know, now everybody wears green and the color's red. You know, he had a line in one of them songs on Kingdom Come, you know, Chris Styles wax, so they asked me what we drinking. Like, and that's good. I feel you. That is a hustle. I almost feel like we're living, you know what today's society is? I feel like we're the dumbest people in the world. We're just the dumbest people ever. Because I'll never forget, I was at my man's son's birthday party, and I had an Eagles jersey on, and my man came up to me and was like, yo, Kill, man, you ain't here, Jay? Like, jersey, yo, we don't wear jerseys no more. And I'm like, my nigga, you just tell me to take off my jersey because goddamn Jay-Z told, what are you, 8? Like, what are you doing? Like, have a mind of your own. If you like drinking Cristal, keep drinking it. Don't stop because Jay said to stop it. So I guess
when I look at hip-hop, for me, this is just the way I look at hip-hop. I look at it for how are you transcending your surroundings to make it more accessible to the wider culture, which is hip hop. So if you're delivering your message, that's why KRS to me is so deep and so dope, as well as with Rakim, because they're taking, Rakim used his spirituality and he broke it down and he made everybody start talking about the sun, the gods, the moons, and the trees. You follow what I'm saying? KRS brought humanity to homelessness because he was homeless. And look at what I came through. So now people who came after him who happen to be homeless, they can transcend what their situation was. So when you look at, for me, when I look at Jay-Z, that's what he's talking about. Because that's what hip hop is taking nothing and making something. So if I can take now, whatever you give me, because as you know, put me on any block, I'm going to double my worth. You know what I mean? Whatever you give me, whatever surroundings you put me in, I'm going to excel. And I put that in my life. I was in the Marine Corps, man. I was out there. I wasn't no slouch. You understand what I'm saying? Corporate America, the same situation. I'm always 2 feet in the pool. You know what I mean? 100% motivated. I'm hustling where I am. Now, did I come from, I came from some very humble beginnings, and I came from beginnings that are, that one might say there's some statistical situations that I dodged. You understand what I'm saying? But that's hip hop, coming from your situation and making it better, tripling it, doubling it, flipping it. That's that drug game. And to me, Jay took that drug game that he knew, that drug game knowledge, and he took it in every part of his life. And everything he touches, he doubles, flips, and triples.
Nah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Even his entendres, when he came in the game, doing double and triple entendres wasn't even out there. So even now, his entendres are like 4 to 5 levels deep. Think about this. African Americans are interested now in art because Jay-Z brought it to their lens with Basquiat.
I get you, and I'm not.
You know what I mean?
I don't want to take up too much time with Jay, but I think the thing with Jay, just for me personally, it was almost like the sellout game. It was like he said, I want to rap like Common Sense, but that shit don't make no money. I ain't trying to be no broke nigga, so I'm going to dumb my lyrics down. You know what I mean? I'm going to dumb them, because he said this. Like, this is right. This is a fact. This is what he told me. I thank him for admitting to it. My only beef with Jay was that I like Fabulous's lane. Like, Fab is like, I'm going to give you this bullshit R&B album, but then I'm going to give you these what are they called? The soul mixtapes or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Like, give me that. Like, Jay, I just want some boom bap. That's all I want from Jay. Like Jay said, hey, you want my old album? Go listen to that. And that's just what I choose to do, because you're right. Some of it does go over my head. With Biggie, it was cool. It was like, yo, Coogee and all that. Jay be talking about islands I don't even know about yet. So you're right. He does school us. He does. I'm in no way debating what you're saying.
Right.
He does educate us. You know what I mean? Because I'll be like, yo, where'd he go? I don't know. What kind of person's that?
He make you Google.
I'm not going to lie to you. When Carter came out, I was like, yo, what's Tyler Ford? So you are 100.
Jay-Z's the reason for genius. Jay-Z's the reason for people looking up lyrics.
You're right.
I mean,
I can't deny you on that.
One last point on Jay-Z, and I know you want to move on, but just think about this. Reasonable Doubt had to be released how many years later for people to catch up with it? So I don't think that he's always, I honestly think that he gives you that mix every album. He's going to give you that, okay, I got to give you these 3 cuts for the album to sell, but these other 7, listen up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And we're going to continue to talk about stuff like that, because I think and the reason I love doing these shows with so many great hip hop folk is that it gives me so many different more ideas, because like I said, for me, I want an album. I look at an album as like a test. If you got 10 songs, I want 10 songs to be dope. But then I know a lot of other people, like you said, yo, you give me 4, you got my money. That's not enough for me. I can't. It's almost like my daughter comes home with a 40. I ain't giving you no goddamn present for that. Like you failed. So you got to come with a better test score. If there's 10 songs, B, you got to at least give me 8. You got to be a B student to get a prize in this house. You know what I mean? But I like how everybody doesn't have to come from that thing. So I just love hearing what gravitates people to the music. But let's go on. We're going to talk about my man Nas. 10 albums. I got 4 that I love. Illmatic, It Was Written, Stillmatic, and Life Is Good. I think I purchased almost every Nas album except probably Untitled. And no, you know what? I'm lying. After It Was Written, those couple of albums in between Stillmatic, between It Was Written and Stillmatic, he had 2 albums out. I don't remember the names of them. I wasn't checking for that. He almost got me with not. But you know what? And take a time out for this real quick. I think the hard part when people compare hip hop to other genres of music, I don't know, and I always want to get, if y'all know a hard rock dude who's a rock dude like we're hip hop heads, or a country singer, I don't know if hip hop goes through these phases. These other genres go through the phases that hip hop does. Because I feel like, I never forget reading something that Quest said. And he said, yo, I saw Nas sink down in his seat when Biggie won for like Lyricist of the Year. you know, for Ready to Die. Yeah, you had the Source Awards, and it was almost like, yo, this lyrical stuff ain't getting it, so we got to do these crossover poppy. I mean, when you look at Jay's second album, he got a song with Babyface and freaking
Blackstreet.
Yeah, and Blackstreet. It was like, yo, the city is mine. Like, this was blatant. Let me follow the Biggie recipe to try to get. And then I feel like Nas did that. He was doing songs with Genuine. You owe me back, like you owe your like. You know, you have those pockets where I don't know if rock goes through that. I don't know if rock goes through. It's like, you know, let's now shift it into this or let's shift it into that. So many of these MCs are just trying to, because I try to understand this is a business. I know as a fan, we just want good music. I understand from there, and it's a business. You got to feed your family off of this. So it's great if all of us love your stuff, but if you're only moving 10,000 units, that's not helping you. You know, so just want to throw that out there. So with Nas, I got 4 albums. Scott, what about you?
All right, so Nas is my favorite MC of all time.
Okay.
And I know I'm gonna start sounding like a broken record, but going back to one of the things that you said, Kill, about the other genres of music. I mean, you and I had this conversation before, man. I think rock musicians, rock artists, you know what I mean, they have something that I think hip hop artists don't have, you know what I mean, and large, you know, their fans are extremely loyal. Man, you look at an artist like a Bon Jovi, right? He has, you know, evolved. Now, I'm not a huge Bon Jovi fan. I'm just from Jersey, and he's just everywhere in Jersey, you know what I mean? So his sound evolved, you know, from the time he came out back in the 80s until where he is now, and his fans moved with him.
Right.
You know, he could have dropped some nonsense, some garbage. They would have ate it up. He sells out, you know, the Garden. He sells out football stadiums. You know what I mean? Because his fans, they move with him. You know what I mean? But you got an artist like a Nas, right? And what you said was exactly right. Nas is a poet first, right? He's a poet. You know, Oludare, you know, he prepared his sons, you know, to be thinking men. You know, and that comes through in his albums. So regarding, you know, what I purchased all of them. You know, and being that, you know, he's my favorite artist because of that. You know, I check for the lyrics, you know, the fact that he's a poet, I respect that. You know, and if you listen to how Nas sets up his tracks, I mean, he follows that formula. He sets up his songs like a poem. You know what I mean? I mean, he delves into topics that fit his style. You know what I mean? And then the 2 albums that you talked about, I Am and Nostradamus, I mean, he lost me with them. Right. He lost me with them. He tried to conform. And I'm guilty of that as well. I mean, I consider myself a loyal Nas fan, but I wasn't checking those albums. They didn't touch me. I wasn't feeling them. You know what I mean? So I dropped off around then.
All right.
I dropped off. You know what I mean? And you know, yeah, I purchased all of his albums, man. But I think that's the reason why like a Nas falls off, because he tried to conform. And you know, hip hop community as a whole, they wasn't feeling that. They wasn't feeling that, and he felt that. You know what I mean?
And he definitely felt that. You brought up too with Bon Jovi when we were talking on Twitter. What was big was because you said that Bon Jovi, his sound matured, and his fans matured with him. You see what I mean? I think with hip hop, it's the opposite. We mature, but it's really hard for some people to really still rock with Havoc talking about shooting, killing, and doing all this other stuff. So it's almost just like, you know, again, just how we were talking about with the cognitive system. Like I want more Fonte type hip hop, grown man hip hop. You know, I'm married, I got a kid. Rap about, you know, people, you know, needing jobs. You know, rap about, you know, the struggle that's going on and stuff like that. And I feel like we don't have that a lot of times with hip hop. We don't have the people who are like, okay, let me keep it 100. Like, let me not, you know, let me put what's going on. But D, what do you think about Nas?
Well, just to bounce off real quick of what Scott was talking about as far as what was going on with hip hop and everybody trying to conform. I remember I was glad that hip hop had got away from back in the day where everybody's album had to have a club cut, a reggae cut, a go-go cut. And it was like, yo, I can't wait until we get to a point where it don't have to be that. So when I heard Illmatic, I was like, yo, he's getting away from this. Hip hop started getting away from everybody had to have the same thing. And I thought Illmatic was going to really change the scope of hip hop. So yeah, I love Illmatic. I love it was written round about Stillmatic and I Am with what Scott was saying. It seemed like he started, let me try to do what everybody else is doing now because they're not really getting my message. So now I gotta let me conform. And I was like, yo, don't do that, yo. You are one of the dopest lyricists out here. And I stopped checking for him at the IM because I was like, yo, he's starting to conform. Whereas Illmatic was so groundbreaking and incredible that I thought that he was going to keep carrying that to the point where everybody had to follow him. Like, yo, I gotta be creative, more creative with my albums, like Illmatic was, and like it was written. I have to, but then he was like, nah, it's not selling. So let me call Lauryn Hill. Let me start calling these people and jumping on these R&B joints. And I was like, dang, yo, come on. So I really stopped checking the albums. I still listen for him because he's just a great lyricist. He's one of the greatest. But I stopped buying his albums because I didn't want to hear it no more. I didn't want to hear the conform. I didn't want to turn on put a Nas album in and hear, somebody else style. Not the fact that he was rapping like somebody else, but he was doing what everybody else was doing. So I stopped checking for him at the IM.
And I think the hard part too is, in the hip hop game it's so hard because when it's always about timing, because I always say the hard part of the 90s, 92, my freshman year at Morgan, EPMD drops Crossover. And Paris says a line that's always stood out to me. Still, I haven't seen one rapper living comfortably. Now, that was 92. We fast forward to 95 in the Bad Boy era. Like I said, we got $1 million videos. Now we got MTV Cribs. Like, we don't really talk about how much money changed in hip-hop between 92 and 96. It changed a lot. People forget that Gang Starr used to live with Branford Marsalis and his wife during the daily operation days. So Gang Starr, one of the biggest hip hop groups, lives with Branford Marsalis and his family in their brownstone in Brooklyn. That Q-Tip during the Midnight Marauders age, I'll never forget this issue of The Source, where they was talking about Tip had to decide, am I going to buy a 3 1/4 BMW or move out of my mom's house? So Midnight Marauders, Tribe Called Quest, one of the biggest groups in the world, Q-Tip, has to decide, do I buy a Beamer or move out of my mom's house? He brought the Beamer. So when Midnight Marauders, when they came back from tour, Tip was sleeping in a twin bed in his sister's room in Queens. Like, think about that. The biggest hip-hop group at that time is still living at home in Queens. Now, fast forward a couple of more years, Cats got condos, MTV Cribs, Big Boy got the Boom Boom Room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, money just like quadrupled in hip hop, So again, if Illmatic would have dropped maybe in 90 instead of 93, it may have been different. You know what I mean? But at that point in time, I don't feel like Nas was leading the way. Bad Boy was leading the way. All these people trying to get money was leading the way. So I think we always gotta look at that too. John, what's up with you and Nas?
Well, believe it or not, I wasn't a big Nas fan when he first came out.
Okay.
He had a video, and he was crouching down somewhere in like a, I don't know. I think he was, and he was talking on the cell phone. Yeah. I was like, who is this clown in a video talking on a cell? Yeah, I'm saying back then, I'm like, who is this? Why are you in a video talking on a cell phone, dude? Rapping to it. You're rapping to, and it was a Motorola flip joint. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are you doing? So from the beginning, so it took me a number of years to circle back around to Nas. Okay. Unfortunately, my nephew was the one. He was just like, listen, man. Right. You gotta let that go with Nas. Dude's pretty dope. So then I circled back around to him, and then I even learned more from him, from Scott, from doing the podcast, because I think that was our episode 12 or maybe 13 where we broke down Illmatic. And just by going back and listening to it again, I was like, damn, I'm kind of angry at myself that I let that little piece of, texture kind of get in between, me being able to experience his lyrics when they were out. Because everybody was on Nas, and I was the one sitting in the corner like this. No, don't Philly, nope. You know what I mean? I was the angry grandpa. You know what I'm saying? But so for me, I never really bought any of his stuff. So it's All
right. And Nick, what about you?
You already know Nas, #1 for me. Got everything. I'm in the minority camp that says It Was Written is better than Illmatic. That's me.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
that's why the podcast we had, the age play a part. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I got all the Nas albums, man. The only one I didn't really care for was I Am, Nostradamus. Those were the dark years of the Nas fan. It was hard to defend them. But outside of that, come in, like even the double album is bloated.
But it's not as bad as what people say it is. It's not as bad as what people say it is. Like, Say Cool's Story is actually one of my favorite Nas joints, man. Yeah. I love that joint.
Yeah, so even the joint with Damian Marley.
Right.
Yeah.
And Life is Good was definitely a dope album too. All right, let's talk about EPMD.
Ooh.
These dudes had out 7 albums. I care about, to me, the that count.
Are we including solos?
Nah. Just the group.
Okay.
Just the group. So I'm looking at Strictly Business, Finished Business, Business as Usual, and Business Never Personal. Those are the 4 songs that I rock with. The 2 extra albums came after the breakup, and you know, I gotta count them because they're there. But after the breakup, I mean, I think I brought the album just on some old
nostalgia.
Just off of nostalgia. It didn't have it. And deep down inside, I didn't even expect it to have it. Because I always feel like with hip-hop, the problem is by the time our favorite groups reunite, the magic is gone. You know what I mean? Like, too much time has passed. You know, it was too many E albums and PMD albums, and it was too much. But I feel like EPMD, when we're talking about the music that moves you, the samples, and the lyrics, I feel like EPMD are like one of those perfect hip-hop groups. Like, I felt like their albums were always great albums, like albums that I could listen to. Like for me, and everybody's probably heard this, for me, I'm always like, yo, if I gotta drive from Philly to Atlanta and back and I can only take one album, like that's how I look at great albums. And that's EPMD. I love them because their first singles were always incredible. You know what I mean? Like they were just always big. I feel like that's something that's missing with hip hop now, like the Havoc and Alchemist joint. The joint they dropped maybe one of the weakest joints on the album. And I'm like, yo, you know, that's why I wasn't hyped for it. I'm like, yo, where are the days when So What You Saying dropped, I was just like, God damn, these niggas are dope. Like, yo, it was just like Gold Digger drop. I'm like, oh God, like crossover. Like these dudes had that magic to just hit you with that single. But Scott, what's your take on EPMD?
All right, so I'm gonna tell you like this, man. You Got to Chill got to be one of my favorite records of all time.
Yeah,
I related to that. You know what I mean? You go back to the video, the way P and Eric was playing with each other. That was me and my little brother right there. You know what I mean? So I'm completely biased when it comes to EPMD, especially being from the region, from the East Coast where I'm at. I mean, back then that was one of the, even now, I mean, it's one of the greatest hip hop groups of all time. Yep. You know, from a production standpoint, the way P and Eric, you know, did their tracks and everything like that. I mean, Eric was a good lyricist. He wasn't one of the greatest, but he was a good lyricist. You know, the way they structured their albums, I thought was genius. And I thought, you know, and I might get a little flack for this, I think You Got to Chill probably kicked off the golden era a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of served as the bridge between that classic boom bap to that creative sampling era of hip hop. Right. You know, with that more balance of the ounce sample, that jungle boogie. Regarding the albums that I purchased the exact ones that you said, the ones that they released before they broke up. And for me, that was completely heartbreaking because EPMD was everything. EPMD, Tribe, De La, they were everything to me, man. And so when you hear that there's beef with your family, you know what I'm saying? It's heartbreaking, man. It's real disappointing, man. And I think that their craft suffered for that. Yeah. I think, you know, their fans split into 2 different camps. Right. And, you know, I don't think they ever recovered from that. I don't think they were ever able to get everyone back that was part of the whole EPMD movement. Yeah. And you know what I mean? So
is with me and EPMD, it was like that Business Never Personal album. That may be my second favorite album of theirs for me personally. And again, to me, it may be an emotional thing too, because like I said, it dropped when I was a freshman at Morgan. So, you know, I have a lot of albums that I consider classics to me, but I understand it's from a personal standpoint. You know what I mean? But for that to be their last album before the breakup, that was an incredible album. You know what I mean? And most artists can't say that the album before, like the last time you heard them was incredible. Not too many people can say that. You know, most people are already on their downside And for them to just come with that album was nothing but the music, the Boondocks, like all them joints. That was just an incredible album. Nick, what you got on EPMD?
Yeah, like same thing. Actually, see, I hate counting because there was a period between '98 and 2003 when I worked at the record store. So I bought hella stuff, even if I didn't really like it. I was just buying stuff. I could get it for like $7.
Right.
So I think I bought Out of Business. Was that the last Def Jam album?
Yeah, I think so.
I bought that. I didn't really care for it. I liked the one before that. Was it Back in Business?
I think it was Back in Business. The joint with the two fists on the.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you can't recreate that. You can't come back for business purposes or whatever they came back for, because the solo careers ain't take off how they planned. The magic just wasn't there. So Business Never Personal is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like the Boondocks, the chill. Now you got to chill, but chill.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like I was in the gym one time. I was on the treadmill for 30 minutes with that one song on repeat.
That joint. I'm just sitting here.
That joint was like
in my head, man, that joint. And I think the only reason why Strictly Business stays number one is just nostalgia. It was just a great album. It did so much. It was so many great singles. It's Your Thing. You a Customer. Jane. But
Right.
That's a hell of a debut though.
Yeah.
So your debut album. Yeah.
All right, D, what you got on EPMD?
Yo, I got Strictly Business. That was just the group album with me. Like, yo, these cats is dope. There's never going to be a group like them.
Right.
Ever. And Business Never Personal, I brought those two. Unfinished Business and Business as Usual was cool to me, but I really like Strictly Business Never Personal. Like Scott said, when them cats broke up and going through all that stuff, like when they tried to come back, it just wasn't the same to me.
Right.
It wasn't. They were EPMD, but it wasn't EPMD.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just like EPMD because we gotta be EPMD, not EPMD because
Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's the other thing with EPMD is that, to me, they've got the illest breakup. Like, this dude, Eric, got past Rob. I mean, we don't know if that's true, but that's the reason for the breakup. Like, Tribe didn't break up because Fife got Q-Tip house robbed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a hard breakup to come back from. Like, if this is true. And then I think I was watching the Unsung or something, and East Summer was like, we've never talked about it. And I'm just like, word? Like, so deep down inside, P may still think you got him robbed and all that, and y'all just never spoke about it. But I think what happens with so many groups is that, like Nick said, the solo careers don't pan out. It's the nostalgic, circuit is out. So it's like Pete and CL. I heard they about to go on tour, but I heard they had some real beef. So it's kind of just like we can make more money together than we can make apart. CL going on tour by himself, nobody may go see that. But Pete and CL, you can sell out. A couple of nice little spots in your city with that lineup. John, what you got on EPMD?
I bought up to Back in Business, and then after that, I just couldn't buy Out of Business because there was just too much business, man. There was just every freaking
Right.
I mean, but yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, how many volumes of business we got here? Yeah. But
it was like they got up to Jane 18. I was like, okay,
right? Yeah. But Strictly Business was a beast for me, man. I was in the Marine Corps. I was up in Bremerton, Washington. So the video quality, the dancing, the whole 9 yards, they hit all the elements of hip hop with Strictly Business. If you look at their videos, they featured their DJ. Of course, their lyrical style was unsurpassed and totally different. And then they had the dancers, you know what I mean? So they were right in the vein of hip hop. And that whole thing about them, I heard so many stories about those cats, man. It's ridiculous. I heard that the Green Eyed Bandit, wasn't he supposed to commit suicide or something at one point?
Yeah, something like that.
Rumor. Yeah, he jumped off a balcony or something. It was like a 2-story balcony, jumped off of, and you know what I mean? And then the whole Out of Business, it was just too much for me after a while, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would definitely bang Strictly Business and Business as Usual. I will bang those right now. You know, I mean, seriously. I mean, when I try to, because my son is 14, So when I try to, introduce him to hip hop and play a little hip hop, that's what I'll play. I'll play some Rakim. I'll play some EPMD. I'll give him the old stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that keeps it fresh in my mind. But right now, if somebody said, "Did you hear the new EPMD?" I would think they were talking about some new artist that was out.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into this. It's actually it's Tribe, and I know Scott, that's your group right there.
Yes.
Why I gotta keep going last, man?
All right,
Let him go first. He gotta get it.
So I'll mess around and skip you. So I'm literally going trying to go in order. But nah, Jay, you can go first on this.
Nah. Go ahead, man. God knows I just like causing trouble.
Nah, but the one thing I want to shout you guys out for on your podcast is I always want to learn something. If I'm gonna listen to somebody, I want to learn. And that's something that I get from you guys. So salute to that. But when I was listening to the podcast, I had no idea that Fife did not write any of his rhymes for People Instinctives.
No.
I had no idea.
There's not that much on People Instinctive.
I mean, but Can I Kick It is one of my favorite Fife verses. So and that's a whole nother topic because I don't know I feel like it's a 20-year gag order on hip hop. Like nobody says nothing for 20 years. Then like all of a sudden Vlad TV pops off and it's like everybody, oh, Kane, Marley didn't do that beat, I did, and such wrote this, and everybody's just going crazy now. Like there was this gag order on hip hop and it was like, all right, now we can tell the truth. But Scott, with me and Tribe, 5 albums, 3 I rocked with, of course, Low End and Midnight. I had to come back on People's Instinctive. When People's Instinctives dropped, I wasn't a big fan. They kind of took me a little off guard with the dress and with the left my wallet. I'm like, did you really mean that? Like, does this mean something else? It was a little over my head for me. But when Low End dropped, it was like, now they're back to normal, jerseys, sneakers, champion shirts and everything like that. So I love Low End, Midnight, came back. I really like People's Instinctive now. So I got 3 albums. Wasn't a big fan of Beats, Rhymes, and Life or the Love Movement. But Scott, what you got on Tribe?
All right, let me take my time with this one, man, because Tribe to me is the greatest, regardless of genre, is the greatest group of all time.
Amen.
Regardless of genre.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm completely biased, kid. You know what I mean? Thanks, D. I appreciate you. I can't wait to hear what you say about this, man. But to me, Q-Tip is a musical genius. A musical genius, man. I mean, the reason why I gravitated toward them is because, I grew up in a jazz influenced household. My grandfather was a jazz pianist. And so I grew up around that type of vibe. You know what I mean? And so when I heard People's Instinctives, it caught my ear immediately, man. And I still play it to this day, man. So regarding the albums that I purchased all of them. And so, they follow Q-Tip's formula up until what you said, Beats, Rhymes, and Life. And that's when they brought in the Dilla, his influence is all over that. And I think I understand what you're saying about you not feeling it from a production standpoint because they got away from Tip's primary influence. Before that, it was all Q-Tip.
Right.
Then you bring in Dilla, and Ali had a much bigger part of that too in Beats, Rhymes, and Life. And then they bring in Consequence, so people are confused, like what is this? What's going on? I still felt it because it was Tribe. Right. You know what I mean? And then you bring in like the Love Movement, and it's like they got away from the whole Tribe formula altogether. You see what I'm saying? But I purchased it, but for me, the Love Movement is not an album that I play unless I'm hitting like Scenario Remix or something like that.
Yeah. And I think another thing with Tribe with me is that, and I'll send you this piece I wrote on why I think Beats, Rhymes, and Life suck. And it was just talking about how they were going through. I'm really big because I'm a producer and do projects with people. I'm really big into the energy that people have. And up until Midnight Marauders, these dudes were all in New York. They were all in Queens. It was a hip hop vibe. They're on hip hop tours. You're freestyling with Dave and Daylight and Common and them. Your skills are always being sharpened. Right after Midnight, it seemed like, and my man Vic said this best. He was like, yo, Tribe broke up after Midnight Marauders because they just went in different directions. Fife moved to Atlanta. You know, Tip started doing outside production. Ali started working with Quest. You know, it's a bad analogy, but y'all may get it if you like BBD. The first album, Poison, was crazy. You know, then they blew up, and then Mike Bivins got, you know, Biv 10 Entertainment, started doing his thing, and then Hootie Mac was just whack. You know, it was like whatever vibe y'all had that was there isn't the same anymore. Like you said, they brought in Consequence. I almost felt like Tip was like, Fife, you ain't coming to the studio, so I'm gonna bring my cousin into the mix, and we're gonna bring Dylan into the mix, and Q-Tip is now becoming a Muslim. There was so much movement with that album that, you know, it felt like it was a forced album, you know, and maybe that's what we see in the documentary, that and you can tell when music is forced and when music comes naturally. So again, I say it as a joke of saying it sucked. It didn't suck. It's a lot of joints on there I rock with. But D, what about you and Tribe? Since you're co-signing.
Oh man, me personally love that. They are the greatest rap group ever to me, ever. I love and I got two stories, and Kill's a part of one of them, where we went on 88.9, and I said that there were times where I felt like Fife was better than Q-Tip.
Right.
He challenged me on the show. We had people call in, and what happened, Kill?
I think Fife won. I mean, I think Tip won, but I was shocked.
Shocked by how many people called about Fife.
I was totally shocked.
Yo, when Mitt hit, the first time I heard it, we were riding from Maryland back to Baltimore. They threw the tape on. The car was silent until we got into Baltimore, and we all looked at each other like, is that the greatest thing I've ever heard? Yo, Tribe, from people, I brought all of them, and I listened to all of them. Even though Consequence came in on Beats Round, I still listened to it. Love Movement, even though they were in different parts, I still loved it. Yo, Tribe was just, I got everything. Everything.
All right.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let me ask a quick question to D. D, you said you were driving from Maryland to Baltimore?
From University of Maryland campus back into Baltimore.
Okay. I was like, I thought Maryland and Baltimore.
No.
You're driving from Maryland.
It's a state, bro. Maryland a big state. You be in Maryland.
Right, yeah.
I live in Maryland. No. And one of the things when I first moved down here from Pittsburgh, I was talking to this shorty, and I was like, where you from? I was like, are you from Maryland? She said, no, I'm from Baltimore. My brother and I, we looked at each other like, what did she just say? She said that she ain't from Maryland, she from Baltimore.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Baltimore ain't part of the DMV. It's
all right.
It's very. I've been here a while, so I've kind of got it. But yeah. Baltimoreans don't look at themselves as Marylanders, but no.
You know what? I've been here since '95, and I learned that also. I've learned that also, Kill. Yeah.
But what you got on Tribe, John?
I mean, I got them up through the anthology. I mean, you know, I was a big Tribe fan because, again, being in the military and I was so transient, the only thing that I could keep that was consistent was my music. And then growing up the way that I grew up in a very musical household as well. Not to the degree that Scott grew up, you know, with his grandfather being such an accomplished pianist. But my family was all about music. I mean, so when I heard Low End Theory, it was like, wow, here we go with some Miles. I mean, it brought, because my music taste is very eclectic, so it brought in so many different pieces of music for me that I was happy that there was a different type of hip hop that was springing up with Tribe. So that's one of the reasons why I started rocking with them so hard at first. And then I just kept rocking with them because I'll buy music. Buying music to me isn't like some people can only buy if they like it. My sister developed a love in music in me. And if she liked one cut off of an album, she would buy the entire album. So I kind of got that passed down to me as well. If I just like one cut, I'm going to buy the entire LP.
Right.
Just simply because having a single, because what if, you know, there might be something else on there. And my boy Jason always says, for every LP you ever get, you go to the middle of it, listen to track 6 or 7, and that'll tell you if the LP is hot. So, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's kind of like the word there. But I've always rocked with Tribe, and left my wallet in El Segundo. I was out in, I was just finished up in San Diego and everything, so that kind of, brought some locality to me as well. So I've always rocked with them, man. So if they got something, I may not buy it, like you said, and there wasn't a seminal moment in their music that made me say, okay, I can't buy them after this.
Right.
It was just, yeah. So I can't say they ever did something to make me say, man, they suck now. But just, I always rock with them. You know what I mean? And we did a episode on when Fife passed.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw that or not, Kill.
That's the joint. That's the joint that I heard that Fife didn't write.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So and I learned one of the reasons I love hip hop so much and working with Scott and doing the podcast is I learned so much about hip hop, man. I learned so many different perspectives. It's crazy. So, and that's to me kind of like what Tribe Called Quest kind of represent. There was that new kind of hip hop to teach how we can do this thing. Everybody everyone doesn't have to look like they wear Timbs and come from Brooklyn. You can be a little different and still have hip hop, Right. So that's one of the reasons why I will always mess with Tribe. You know what I mean? They kind of brought that, regular guy into it. You feel me?
Right. And one of the things I always loved about Tribe is I always look at them and Gangstar. Really, Gangstar was one of the people who really started the beginning of the jazz movement. But what I loved about Tribe and Gangstar so much was they didn't get caught up in that. There were a lot of groups that got caught in the jazz cycle and couldn't get out of it. Like Diggable Planets could never get out of that. There was a lot of groups that got stuck in that jazz place and couldn't move to the next level. I felt like Tribe was always pushing that. One thing I said in this article, man, it really made me think, what if those beats on Beats, Rhymes, and Life weren't there, and all those beats that Q-Tip was giving out at that time was on that fourth Tribe album? Apache's Gangsta Bitch beat. The stuff he was giving Craig Mack, the Get Down remix. Just think of all those Q-Tip bangers, like the joints he was doing for Mobb Deep. Like, to me, and again, that's just a production standpoint for me, it was just like, wow. Like, because that Q-Tip sound was so great. You know what I mean? And I think after a while, because like Tip said, everything always just said, produced by a Tribe Called Quest, because no man was ahead of the crew. And I think for years, everybody thought it was Ali. There's just a point in hip-hop where it was like, oh, the DJ is the one who makes the beats. But then when I started hearing Tip's solo production and hearing Ali's solo production, I was like, nah, that nigga Tip did everything. Like, I can tell the difference. Tip did everything. All right, let's go on to Outkast. 6 albums. I got 5 albums. I think Outkast is my personal favorite group. Idlewild, it wasn't great. I want to say it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't great. And to be honest, I almost wish it didn't even exist, because I rocked with all 5 albums, even the Speaker Box and the Love Below. I just love Cast. I know a lot of my diehard boom bap dudes. I know people who stopped rocking with Outkast after ATLiens. Didn't even go to Aquemini. So I'm always, I'm interested to hear what people guys say about Cast. What about you, John? Where'd you go with Cast?
I still rock with Outkast. Outkast can be playing they can be playing in the park right now, and I would be right there. I'll be handing out lemonade. You know what I mean? Because that's for the simple fact that, man, again, because of the originality, I love, and kind of like what D said, when that first one comes out, you got to love that first banger. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of sets the stage for that person. So with Outkast, man, because I love the fact that they bring in so many different things, man. It's crazy. So for me, I always rock with them. I did like Aquemini. I did like Stankonia. There wasn't. I can't say that there is something that I don't like from them. Right. You feel me?
Yeah, no doubt. I got you, D. What you got on Cast?
I got all of them, son. I appreciate all the albums. Like, I love something playalistic. I was like, I gotta hear more. So when ATLiens came out, I was like, oh, they still bringing it. Like, they were one of the only groups that really brought it with each album that kept going. I was like, yo, they're going to continue. Even the Speaker Box and Love Below, I was like, yo, they're still bringing. Like, I'm still like, what are they going to say next? It wasn't like all right, okay, let me see what they got next. It was, I want to hear what they got next. That's what the gym. It was like, it wasn't like, I see what they got coming out and I get it. It was, I want to hear what's coming next, because you saw the progression of styles and personality. Even when, I mean, like, even like when Dre was on Southern Playlist, if you saw how the personality just started going all the way up and up and up until you got to Speak By. So you was like, at one point in time, you was like, yo, who is Dre? But then you was like, yo, that dude Dre. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was like, yo, I want to hear more. I want to. Where can he take this? How far can he take it? So yeah, I got all of them.
Yeah.
All right, what about you, Scott?
So let me tell you like this. Freshman year, Hampton University, 1993. It was Dre, Big Boy, and Big Git came for our homecoming. We freshmen in the gym. I had never even heard of Outkast. Never even heard of them. Right? And then you got to think, I'm sitting there coming from Jersey, not really understanding the whole Southern vibe. There's a lot of people from Georgia, a lot of people from, from the deep South there. I don't really understand, their language, their style, their vibe and everything like that. And Big Gip is standing in front of you looking like he's looking in 1993.
Right.
I mean, he might as well have been an alien for real. You see what I'm saying? And so us being from the East Coast, New York City, Tri-State area, we kind of hung together. We were all like, man, what is this, man? And then they dropped Players Ball live in front of us, Dre and Big Boy, and ripped it. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what this is. You know what I mean? So then Southern Playalistic, I bought that right away. And it was coming from me, a big fan of Tribe Called Quest. When I heard that, immediately I gravitated to it. It's different. It's something different about it, man. There's a different sound. Organized Noise, the way they put that together, it was insane, man. It was completely insane. You know what I mean? And then the whole, AT Aliens and everything else that came after that. I purchased everything. Speaker Box, Love Below, I wasn't really feeling that one. I mean, Big Boy side of it, I think I liked his part of that album more than I did Dre's part. Dre's side of the album, man. But Aquemini, I think, is one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, no doubt.
One of the greatest albums of all time. I must have purchased that one 10, 15 times and still rock it to this day, man. It had, just an unbelievable album, man.
Let me tell you something about Aquemini, man. That is the one, outside of Dilla's Donuts, but that's instrumental. But Aquemini is the one instrumental album. Like, my iTunes is bananas. That's the one instrumental album that I have. And out of all the albums are the Aquemini instrumentals. Like, the instrumentals themselves, are beautiful. Yeah. And to go back again all the way to the beginning, the way the music moves you, the music, and then the lyrics. And I felt like Outkast had that perfected. I felt like we saw Outkast grow up. We saw them go, Benz or Beamers, talking about selling their little drugs, robbing cars. You saw them mature to even to Miss Jackson, like talking about dealing with your baby's mama, and really Mama's just about, you know what I mean? You having dudes from the studio come to the studio trying to fight me. Like, that's real stuff. Like, I pay them bills, man. I ain't invited to the party. Like, those lyrics were connecting with you, the joint. So I just felt like Tribe always kept pushing the envelope. Bombs Over Baghdad. When that first dropped, I hated it. I was like, what is this? That's my favorite Outkast song. Well, one of them, because I just wasn't ready for it. Like, with Outkast, you can't think of what they're going to come with, because they're probably going to come with something crazy, but it don't mean that it's dope. You know what I mean? And
that's the best part.
Right. You don't know what you're getting. So you just got to be open-minded to just listen to whatever's going to come, because it's going to be crazy. Gangstar, 6 albums. I'm one of the few people who rock with all 6. I know some people didn't like the Owners. I did an article on this on my site. Why the Owners is so dope. I feel like after Moment of Truth, people, I'm guilty of it too sometimes, that whatever, like you said, D, that first album, that's what you hold their criteria to. The Owners isn't better than Moment of Truth, but it's still a very dope album. You know what I mean? So, but I know people who are like, nah, that was trash, but I rock with Gangstar. Again, Gangstar to me is one of those groups who can do all 3. They're going to give you the beats, the rhymes are going to be dope, and you're going to have some growth with them. But Scott, what you got on Gangstar?
One of my favorite groups, man, of all time. I mean, I know, like I said, I sound like a broken record, but you are bringing up some of these icons, man.
Right.
You know that I gravitated toward, mainly because of their sound. You know what I mean? Regarding, I think Guru was largely misunderstood though.
Right.
He's more of like, I'm not comparing him to Rakim, but I'm talking about from a lyrical standpoint. I mean, he went over the head of most people, you know what I mean? So I think that might have been, why, people outside of hardcore hip hop heads ain't really checking for them like they should have been, you know what I mean? Because their production was complex, the whole jazz, DJ Premier, infusing, and then, Gangstar, and then, Guru's lyrical content, I mean, was just mind blowing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And his delivery, his style, his raspy voice. I mean, he was just a perfect MC, man. Yeah. And regarding albums that I purchased all of them. And I can't really from a for the purposes of this show and where we're trying to go, I can't really pinpoint where I think they fell off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I can't really pinpoint it, man. I really can't, man. Then it's, for me, it's heartbreaking. You hear about Guru and Primo, how they had their little beef or whatever like that, man. But I can't really say that, if and when it started, if it affected their music, and if that had something to do with, where they diverged, or if they ever did. I just.
The crazy thing, have you ever heard the story about the joint Now You're Mine, where it was off, I think, the White Man Can't Jump soundtrack, and he said Guru went in the booth and just spit that whole rhyme, stared at the Premier, and then was like, and fuck you, nigga, because they was beefing. So, like, he wrote the rap dissing Premier. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was yo, this rap, and Guru and Primo was like, yo, from all the Gangstar research I've done, they, like he said, Primo, they've had fish fights. It's been like, we have lived together. This is really, like, this ain't no, we ain't speaking. Like, no, we fish fighting and doing all this and everything. But I think the thing is, and what I was saying a little bit earlier about with the lyrics, is that for years I was such a Premier fan that I never really heard Guru. And what I mean by that is I heard the rhymes and I could repeat them. But one day my man was like, yo, how do you rank Guru? Scale of 1 to 5, where you give Guru? I was like, 2.5, 3. He was like, nah, he's a 4. He's a 4. And I was like, I don't know. But then after Guru passed away, and I'm not saying, I'm not the dude to just be like, oh, somebody dead, now I'm gonna give them their props. But it almost was like when Guru passed, and I was like, let me really listen to get some Gangstar. It was the first time I was hearing Guru first instead of hearing the beat first. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Perfect sense.
And it really made me realize just how incredibly dope Guru was. You know what I mean? And it really was like, this dude is talking about, Just to Get a Rap is my favorite Gangstar song. It came out in '88. I was dating this chick in North Philly. It was crazy getting in her neighborhood. So Just to Get a Rap would be playing in my head of Stick Up Kids. That's what Gangstar kind of did. They kind of put you in those moods. Soliloquy of Chaos. Like, people don't say it a lot. Guru was a dope storyteller.
No,
he doesn't get a lot of credit for it, but Guru is an incredibly, even a joint off the double album, the extra joint, All for the Cash, when his Guru stories are incredibly dope. And just listeners, I challenge you, if you fall into my mindset of you just heard Premier, like, really sit down and really peep what Guru was saying throughout all these years. I mean, keep in mind, they dropped in 88, 89 with Words I Manifest. You know what I mean? Like, that's a long time. But D, what you got on Gangstar?
I listened to No More Mr. Nice Guy. I never bought it. I think the very first one I bought, and I looked at it and Step in the Arena, I never bought that. I think the very first Gangstar album I bought was Daily Operation.
Okay.
But then I was like, yo, let me go back and pay more homage to the first two to really understand where we are now with this one. And I was like, yo, this dude is dope. I always felt like, though, The Wick, which was probably one of the biggest commercial albums he was a part of, I always looked at him like, why'd you hook up with them two whack cats?
Nice and smooth.
Why did you hook up with them?
let me tell you something. Let me tell you a story because, and for cats who don't know, I used to do 88.9 strictly hip hop up in Baltimore for like 10 years. So they like back in the 90s, like the labels would come down and take us out to dinner to like show, love for us playing the artist. So one day we're with Gangstar at Dave and Buster's out in Rockville, and I asked Primo, I was talking to Guru, and I was just like, yo, that joint, the joint with Total, man, like why you rock? No, it was the joint with KC and JoJo. I was like, yo, why y'all got the singers? Like, yo, I appreciate you keeping it boom bap, but yo, man, why y'all singers? And he was like, yo. And I'll never forget this. What he said to me changed my whole perspective on music. He was like, yo, JoJo and Casey are some cool ass niggas and we wanted to fuck with them. It wasn't about no sellout. It was just, yo, I rock with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you rock with people, and that's always been Gangstar. When you look at the Gangstar Foundation, they seem to be very loyal. Premier has given some great beats to some MC.
Yeah.
So, it just made me change my mind and say, well, maybe everything isn't selling out. And maybe everything isn't. It's like, they was like, yo, we got a new joint with Scarface. Yo, it's going to be crazy. Face is my dude, He from Texas, Primo from Texas. And it kind of just opened. So maybe Nice and Smooth, they was just cool. You know what I mean? It could just be, yo, we was just cool with them dudes. Nice and Smooth was another room. And whether we like it or not, them dudes make the win. Greg Nice and them, Gangstar has got to be the show. Nice and Smooth helped to make DeWitt what it is. I almost have to challenge you that I don't think DeWitt would be what it is without Nice and Smooth. To be honest with you.
Maybe with Smooth, not Greg Nice, yo. Greg Nice.
All right. You ain't got no love for Greg Nice, man. John, what you got on Gangstar?
Man, I was kind of one of those cats, man, who I started rocking with him because of Guru. Because he was such a storyteller. So that's how I always started, but after a while, I can't remember which album when I stopped purchasing them, but I think I got like their first 3, and then I think that was pretty much it for me. Wasn't because of anything other than the fact that monotone style, man, after a while,
right.
You know what I mean? Because at the time that he was still keeping with the monotone style, hip hop was evolving so rapidly. I mean, you figure in 1987, hip hop was only 10 years old, maybe 11. So when you go and you take it and he's still trying to bring that monotone style into the late 90s, it was so hard, man, because hip hop did so many different turns in the 90s. It was crazy.
Right.
So, but I still will, I'll still rock with Guru all day. So I have no issues with him.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, and the beats by Premier.
Oh my goodness.
Premier is one of the few producers where I'll seriously just sit back and separate him from the lyrics, because I'm a lyrics first guy. Because when you think back to like Rapper's Delight and the early hip hop, it wasn't about the beat. It wasn't until like Run DMC and Rockbox and they started infusing that whole Rick Rubin sound, and that rock those, and of course the West Coast with NWA and how they were bringing the old school R&B through. But really though, hip hop was just, to me, it was more lyrical based,
right,
than it was anything else. I mean, now I used to break dance, so don't get me wrong, Planet Rock and everything, rock at your own risk, all of that. But it was always lyrics first for me. But Premier, my goodness, I mean, Scott talks about he throws me softballs. I throw him production softballs, like, I'd ask him, just tell me your favorite 5 beats by Premier, and just watch him go and watch his eyes light up as he starts dancing across all of his memories about beats from Premier, because he's just that dope, man.
Right. Yeah. Primo is crazy. Got 3 more joints. We're gonna run through them real quick. De La Soul got 8 albums. To be honest with you, I probably rock with almost everything De La has put out. You know what I mean? Like, De La is one of those groups. I can't wait to hear their new album that they just got done.
Right.
Doing with Kickstarter. So, anybody got any De La falls off? We all on the same accord with De La.
Yeah. You won't hear me say anything negative about De La. I mean,
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
All right.
Potholes in my lawn.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got my man out of Chi-Town, Common Sense. He's had 10 albums out. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's had 10 albums. I would say it's almost like playing a game of spades. I got 4 and a pass on Calm, you know, because I got Resurrection, One Day It All Makes Sense, Like Water for Chocolate, B, and Nobody's Smiling. His last album was alright. It wasn't what I really thought it was gonna be. So I got well, no, it's 3 and a pass. I got 3 and a pass because Resurrection, 4 and a pass. Resurrection, One Day.
I'm over here like your partner, like, come on, man, it's weekend bid.
Yeah, my fault. I'm messing up the bid out here. I got 4 in the pass. I got Resurrection, One Day It All Makes Sense, Like Water for Chocolate, B, Maybe Nobody's Smiling. Scott, what's good with Calm with you?
I'm gonna keep it real. I've only purchased 2 Common albums, Like Water for Chocolate and B. You know, it's not that, I don't know, man. It's for me, it's not that I wasn't feeling Common as an artist. It's just that, you know, I was just so big into Tribe. I was so big into that whole movement. Right. You know, I looked at Common, even though it was like he was on the outside looking into the whole native tongue situation. Right. You see what I mean? So for me, it was just more so about Tribe. I looked at Common as like a light version of, you know what I mean? It wasn't that he wasn't a dope lyricist, because he was. It's just that I was just more into Tribe, you know what I mean? And that whole thing. So Like Water for Chocolate and B was what I bought from him.
All right,
you know, and
my fault. What you saying?
No. I mean, I'm finished. That's just all I purchased. Yeah.
D, what you got on Calm?
I got Resurrection and B. Not that I didn't like the other albums, they the only ones I purchased, but I think I was more in love with the Soul by the Pound Common than I was with the rest of it, because I was like, I wanted to hear more of that, and I was like, yo, where's that bouncy? Where's that Common at? But as he got older, you can hear the maturity. So I'm like, all right, you know, B was just dope to me. Bang was you know, good, but the only ones I purchased really was B.
All right, and what about you, John?
Oh man, it was easy, man. Resurrection, Like Water for Chocolate, and B. I mean, it was just easy. My sister was big music fan, so when Common came out, she turned me on to him, and she's a serious musical ear. So I listened. I mean, and it's just a different flow, and I love hip hop for all the different types of lanes you can get into with hip hop. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I like a lot of different genres of music. You talked about that briefly with the rock bands. I mean, there are rock bands that I still kick it with. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But Common, man, I like the fact that he's just something different. You know. All
right. In the last group, we got the Roots out of Philadelphia, my hometown. They got 11 albums. And a lot of people get shocked.
For some reason, he saved them for last.
And sometimes people are shocked. I only rock with 4 albums. I rock with Do You Want More, Philadelphia, Things Fall Apart, and How I Got Over. You know, like, and in between Things Fall Apart and How I Got Over, they put out 4 other albums that I really wasn't feeling. To me, the reason was because, one, Malik B left the group. Like, I really look at Tribe and the Roots almost kind of like synonymous. Like, you know, when Do You Want More first came out, I wasn't a fan. Too Light in the Ass. Same thing with People's Instinctives. You know, Philadelphia came out. Clone sounded nothing like, you know, anything that was on Do You Want More. To me, Check the Rhyme didn't sound like nothing. It was so much harder, to me at least, than who was on People's Instinctives. Then Things Fall Apart, an incredible album. And then I just think things started going downhill. Malik B left the group. They stopped getting a lot of outside production. So to me, you know, it's almost like if Fife leaves Tribe, it's like it's hard to keep that group going. You know what I mean? Right. So people may not really be a big Malik B fan, but I really thought he brought a lot to the group. So out of those 11 albums, I only rock with 4. You know, I still love them. I love what they've done for my city. I love them on Jimmy Fallon. Thought it's definitely one of the illest MCs ever. But Scott, what's good with you with the Roots? Where did it go wrong, or did it go wrong with them?
Excellent selection. You know, I mean, besides the fact of the obvious influence from you know, Tribe and Q-Tip to, you know, to the Roots, which is what grabbed my ear immediately. The whole way that they set up their situation with the live band, you know, Questlove and everything else like that is genius, man. They're completely incredibly talented musicians. But Black Thought, I mean, why isn't Black Thought considered one of the top lyricists of all time? I don't understand. That's one thing I'll never understand.
It's the Roots curse, yo. It's the Roots curse. But I'll talk about my part.
No. What's the Roots curse? You can't put that out there. I need curses, bro.
Yo, the Roots curses, for some odd reason, this dope group was not totally accepted as a hip hop king group, yo. I don't know what it was about the Roots that couldn't get them quite over the top. It was like you got that NBA team and they needed one part to get them to the ring, and they never got that part. Like, Do You Want More was a dope album to me, and I brought all the others because I was looking for that Do You Want More flavor to get better. But it seemed like it stayed the same way the whole time. Philadelphia Halfway was dope. But when they asked me, do you want more? I'm like, yes, I want more, but I'm just not getting it with each album. And it seems like the whole world wasn't getting it. Black Thought is just one of the top lyricists ever. Yeah. But for some odd reason, and I don't know what it was, every album that came out was so good, it just didn't reach that. The hip hop nation was like still like, yo, who are the Roots?
But you know what I think it goes back to? I think a lot of it is, or at least in my opinion, was the outside production. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the opposite. Like, when Do You Want More dropped, I was like, it's cool, it's jazzy. I was kind of over the jazz stuff. So when Illadelph came, it was harder. When you listen to Clones and Concerto to Desperado and, you know, the Ital joint and, you know, what they do, it sounded, to me at least, not harder like I Want You Talking About Guns, but just the drums were hard. Like, it was harder, but I think at the end of the day, after things fall apart, I think when Quest started taking over, they kind of weren't like an alternative band, like, because they still did hip-hop, because Thought rhymed, but I think so many people, even myself, started to look at them like, you know, I like Cody Chestnut to See. That's one of my favorite Roots songs. I don't know if it's boom bap hip-hop, right. You know what I mean? So I think for them, they're kind of always in and out of hip hop. Like, you know, when you hear Roots album, I don't know what you're gonna get. And I think back to what you were saying, Scott, with Thought. We had just done a show, and I think you had watched it about who would I want to produce for, and I'm like, Thought, because I just want to give him some boom bap. I don't want him to be over no alternative jazz. I just want straight up and down boom bap hip hop. You know, and I was glad to see he did the joint with Ninth Wonder and Styles P, and he's doing other like hip hop things. Right. That's what I think kind of keeps the Roots from, you know, going there. You know what I mean? John, what do you think about the Roots?
Well, for me, man, I've always dug the Roots because they're from Philly. So being in the military and, like I said, being so transient for such a period of time, anything from back home I would gravitate to. Right. You know, like in Pittsburgh, we didn't have a basketball team, so the 76ers was my basketball squad. Right. So with the Roots, Poor Righteous Teachers, the whole 9 yards, I think the problem with the Roots is not the Roots. I think it's with the hip-hop community, personally. Because to me, sometimes the hip-hop community has a very narrow focus on what they consider to be hip-hop. Right. Yeah. When in actuality, hip-hop is taking something that's already there and refashioning it into something that is new, right, and making it and giving it, and here's the big part about hip-hop to me, giving our culture of a lens and or a view into something that they normally wouldn't see. Right. You know what I mean? That's why I tied so much into Jay-Z and so many different artists, KRS-One, the Rakims, even LL. I mean, you think about LL, and I know we didn't talk about him, but think about the fact that he purposely wore a FUBU hat when he did a Gap commercial. Right. I mean, purposefully to bring our culture in. You know what I mean? So when I look at the Roots, man, I'm thinking, golly, this crew right here should be all time, because they took the basic essence of music from our culture, which is that jazz and that rhythm and blues, and they infused it hard. I mean, and it's right there for us. It's right there for us. And everybody was over here, and I think that was because of the industry. The industry didn't want the Roots, because the Roots was everybody calm down, sit back. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say that Black Thought and them Puff, but they sure as if I was a cop looking at them and somebody else, you know what I mean? They some chill dudes, you know what I mean? They some real chill cats. What's that?
Frustrated sometimes when I get into conversations with cats and we start talking about Roots and everything, and this when the Roots was really banging, and nobody brought up the Roots, and I used to wonder, y'all don't know the Roots? Oh yeah, we know them cats. They, you know, them cats. They laid back. I was like, yo, have you heard Black? Really?
Right. What are you listening to? What are you listening to?
I'm like, yo, this is one of the dopest MCs out right now. What are you talking about? They like, oh yeah, but they're Roots.
You know what the thing is too, man, and I know a lot of people don't admit it. I admit it all the time when I don't want to talk out of ignorance. So there are a lot of times when people used to always say, yo, who's better, Big or Pac? And of course I think Big, but I have to be honest with the Pac people. I've never listened to an entire Tupac album. So he may be better than Big. But so many people want to talk about things that they really know nothing about. Like I really, if you don't think Thought is an ill MC, then I really don't think you've ever listened to a whole Roots album. Maybe you just heard, you know, What They Do, or maybe you just heard the joint with Erykah Badu, you know, like. But I don't think you can listen to a Roots album, any of them, and not come away with Thought is an ill MC. So whenever people say things like that, I'm like, you probably haven't listened to a whole Roots album, have you? Like,
absolutely.
You know, and we do that. We all will be like, oh, nah, you bugging and da-da-da-da-da. But I'm like, nah, man, hey, you could be right. I never, my man told me Action Bronson is better than Ghostface Killer. I would disagree. But I've never listened to an Action Bronson album. So, again, I can't speak.
You don't have to.
Right. Again, I could assume, I would assume that that's wrong. But I've never, you know, so I just at that age. But, yo, I know I've kept y'all, man. I appreciate y'all, man. This was dope linking up with you two cats. Please, Scott, John, let them all know about the Light Podcast, days it airs, websites, Twitter, everything. I'll start with you, Scott.
Okay, so first and foremost, Kill and D, thank you so much for bringing us on, man. It means a lot to us, man. I mean, just like I was talking to you about on Twitter, I mean, we gravitate towards anything hip hop. I think the way we can kind of get our culture back, you know, to what it needs to be is to have these open and honest discussions like what we having now and building with brothers like y'all, man. So we appreciate you. You can reach us at our website, www.thelightpodcast.com. We on Twitter at The Light Podcast. We on Instagram at The Light Podcast. We got a Facebook fan page. We drop episodes weekly. We go back and forth between iconic, you know, hip hop albums. We break them down track to track. We also get into, you know, discussion kind of like what we're doing right now, where we, you know, hit on a topic. Like last week, we hit on Talib Kweli and, you know, his Twitter behavior. He had dropped some tweets about the state of hip hop now, and he had some interesting points. So you can hit that on our website or on our fan page to check out some of our perspectives on that. But other than that, man, I mean, hey, we appreciate y'all, man. Straight up.
No doubt. Give them all your Twitter stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, Scott and I, we are the Light Podcast together. But like Scott said, you know, we release our full-length episodes of album reviews from different iconic artists, different titans throughout the world of hip-hop. And then we also release what we call Politicking, which is a shorter show. It's about a half an hour. And you can find that on the Facebook page, as well as our Twitter, as well as the Instagram. As far as everything, man, I tell you, man, the hip-hop community is so giving and so loving. It's crazy. So we really appreciate all the love and respect. We really appreciate being on you guys' show. Let us know your T-shirt sizes and some addresses. And since you guys are in Maryland, and I'm in Maryland as well, maybe we can link up and I can get you some of these tees. So, you know, maybe next time you had your show. Look, D's like, yeah, give me a tee, man. D's like, yeah, hook me up with some of that podcast swag. Yeah, I got y'all. Don't worry about it. I don't want this to be a one-sided situation. I want to throw this out here right now because, you know, Scott and I, you know, Scott does all of our production and I kind of set up all of our interviews and on-air talent and things of that nature. So we want to throw out the invitation to you guys right now on air to come on our show.
Definitely.
And we'll pick an artist. All right. And what we do is, you know, you guys have heard the show. You see how we break it down. Some of our shows go, you know, a little bit over 2 hours because I'm long-winded. But you know, we'd like to have you guys on and
absolutely
hear your perspective on how we break down an entire album and how we get into an entire MC and how they've transcended the game of hip hop added to the culture. So we want to hear your in-depth analysis on those sort of situations. So again, we thank you for letting us be on. People, you can find me on Facebook at John L. letter L Smithson, Smithson. You can find me on Instagram at John L Siv. You can find me at Twitter, John L Siv as well. I like to do that political thing, chopping it up. So, but always 3 - 4, hip hop's #1, baby.
All right, no doubt. Well, yo, D, you down? I'm down. You ain't. Anytime you want to talk about hip hop, it is, and like I said, it's nothing but respect for what you guys do. Like I said at the beginning of the show, just thank you so much for always the retweets. And I always said, man, if more cats were supportive of each other on Twitter, like we could move this independent movement of people trying to do their own thing forward instead of being like, oh, they got a podcast. I'm not gonna like go on hip hop. You know,
we can all eat. We can all eat.
It's like, but that's the problem. That's why I'm on Twitter. So I just appreciate, again, you guys just, supporting the stuff that I do. That was huge to me, and that's why I reached out. So definitely, let us know the time, day. We'll make the time and make it happen. You already know what it is with me, Kill889. On Twitter, we'll make beats for food.com. Mixtapes, everything is up there. D, what's your Twitter stuff, even though you don't be on Twitter?
Oh, I'm not on Twitter. What is it? I_MDKW.
Y'all be killing me, but y'all don't even know y'all own Twitter names.
That's what I'm not on Twitter that much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm in the streets preaching on, like you said.
Yo, D, tell them real quick about what you do, because this man does a lot in the streets of Baltimore to really bring, and I'm proud of him, and I forgot to shout you out about this, but tell them some of the stuff that you got cooking up in Baltimore.
Yes, right now we got a community activist group called the Village Keepers. We're going to have a lot of programs. We're going to have a youth program, mental program. We're doing this thing called a squad, where we're going to be patrolling the streets of Baltimore just to bring about peace and love. Just walking the most violent parts of Baltimore, just walking through and just talking to people. A whole bunch of men just walking through. I used to be a part of a group called 300 where we did it. We had there, we moved on from that, and we got this group called Village Keepers. It's Keepers of Baltimore. .com. Go there, and we're just trying to do everything in peace and love in Baltimore, man. And we got to get this murder rate down. So we're out in the streets, just talking to people, just walking, doing what the cops be doing, but we're just going from talking to people and just trying to spread this peace and love, just trying to bring this murder rate down, man. It's crazy in Baltimore, but if we get back to taking back our neighborhoods, each other, and just spreading that nonviolence, make a difference. And we can say on and on. So that's it's called the Village Keepers. That's what we do.
All right, bro. And you need to be tweeting about that, man. You'd be shocked at how many people you can get more people out there, man. I'm telling y'all, man, it's a great vehicle.
I know. I gotta get on Twitter. No, I gotta get my Twitter life. I know.
But again, y'all, I appreciate y'all time. I appreciate it, yo. We're going to check y'all next week, man. And again, this can't be the last time y'all chop it up. And Nick was saying he out at ATL, they had a storm, and it kept knocking out his electricity, so that's why he had to bounce. But he shot me a text saying, like, yo, he definitely wants to chop it up with y'all again. He loves learning from the old heads. That's why I love Nick so much. He's a young dude, but he really wants to soak up, the knowledge from the older heads. So he just wanted me to shout y'all out too. This can't be the last time we chop it up either. So we got to keep it.
So make sure we get Nick's t-shirt size as well. And don't forget, man, I don't know about you guys, but we are, I love the fact that our podcast is free. What I mean? You can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Google Play. I mean, you can find it everywhere. And the fact that it's free, just like the whole hip hop culture. Because we're just trying to give back and talk about the positive sides of hip hop, No
doubt. All right, y'all. Well, next week we check y'all out, man.
No doubt, man. Okay. Appreciate y'all having us on.
No doubt.